What's going on, guys? Seth here for Tasty Loot Gaming, doing a TLG Reacts to the DualSense, the PlayStation 5's new controller that was revealed yesterday, alongside Inside Xbox that happened yesterday as well. I did a video on that today. Hopefully you had a chance to watch that. I think it's about an hour long. And yeah, I go through the entirety of that, react to it, and talk about their controller as well. But in typical Sony fashion, Sony decided that on a day that Xbox had let people know ahead of time they would be doing an event for everyone digitally, Sony decided to drop pretty much their first visual on what we can expect from the PlayStation 5, and that is the DualSense, which is their new controller that is, in my opinion, the biggest departure that Sony and PlayStation has done when it comes to the traditional DualShock lineup that they are so famous for. So let's jump into this, talk about it a bit, and yeah, I'll react to it because honestly, I have a lot to say on this fucking thing. So I'm sure you guys have seen it already, so we're here to have a conversation. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. But yeah, this is on the PlayStation blog. Introducing DualSense, the new wireless game controller for PlayStation 5. We got a picture right there. We'll look at pictures in a sec. I mean, if this is the first time you're seeing this thing, have a look at it. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec. Okay, so we've received an exciting milestone with PlayStation 5 as we're starting to ship our new controller in its final design to developers who are implementing its unique feature into their games, which is an interesting point because with the dev kits, I'm assuming you got something that had the same functionality as this, but probably did not look like this, especially with this design that we're seeing. But first, we wanted everyone in the PlayStation community to get a first look at the DualSense wireless controller. Just throwing out there, I like the name. DualShock, DualSense. It's sleeker sounding, and it makes sense with what this thing offers. And here our vision for how the new controller will captivate more of your senses as you interact with the virtual worlds in PS5 games. The features of DualSense, along with PlayStation 5's Tempest 3D audio tech, which is something I don't hear enough people talking about, will deliver a new feeling of immersion to players. When PS4 launched in 2013, holy shit, the time has flown. The DualShock 4 wireless controller garnered a lot of positive feedback from gamers and developers for being the best PlayStation controller yet, and for introducing forward-looking features like the share button, which is something I feel like should be standard. I talk about this in the Xbox video. This brought us to the next question: how do we build upon that success? Again, here's a picture of the DualSense. We are going to look like this in the future. We're going to look at this in greater detail after I read all this. After thoughtful consideration, we decided to keep much of what gamers love about DualShock 4 intact, while also adding new functionality and refining the design. Based on our discussions with developers, we concluded that the sense of touch within gameplay, much like audio, hasn't been a big focus for many games. We had a great opportunity with PS5 to innovate by offering game creators the ability to explore how they can heighten that feeling of immersion through our new controller. This is why we adopted haptic feedback, which adds a variety of powerful sensations you'll feel when you play, such as slow grittiness of driving a car through mud. We also incorporated adaptive triggers into the L2 and R2 buttons of DualSense so you can truly feel the tension of your actions, like when drawing a bow to shoot an arrow. This is fucking cool, right? So like the Xbox One has this vibration in the triggers, and I thought that was probably one of the most innovative things about that controller. Otherwise, they played it safe, and it's a good controller. But if there's one feature about that controller I really loved, it's that they thought about new ways to incorporate vibration. And then with the Switch, they got real fucking innovative with the vibration that those small-ass Joy-Cons can even fucking do. So this is taking it further. This is that innovation that we like to see in new tech. I'm a tech dude. I fucking love the idea that this is going to have haptic feedback. Another thing was saying that when you're driving through gravel, you're going to be able to feel the gravel as you're driving over it with this controller. That is so exciting to me. But something I'm not familiar with is that the DualSense will have this tension that you're going to be able to feel on the triggers, the L2 and R2 triggers. Never experienced that on a controller before. So this kind of innovation is exciting to me. That's fucking cool. And I don't think you're going to get a real strong tension to it, but any kind of feedback at all is really fucking neat. That's really cool. So I can't wait to see what that feels like. Continuing, this provided us with an exciting challenge to design a new controller that builds off the current generation while taking into account the new features we were adding. For example, with adaptive triggers, we had to consider how the components would fit into the hardware without giving it a bulky feeling. Our design team worked closely with our hardware engineers to place the triggers and actuators. The designers were then able to draw the lines of how the exterior of the controller would look and feel, with the challenge of making the controller feel smaller than it really looks. In the end, we changed the angle of the hand triggers and also made some subtle updates to the grip. We also took thoughtful consideration into ways to maintain a strong battery life for DualSense's rechargeable battery and to lessen the weight of the controller as much as possible as new features were added. Yeah, so they're talking about the battery life here. This is something that I keep seeing talked about on Twitter when it comes to Xbox versus PlayStation and shit. And when it comes down to it, batteries get better over time. Every year we see new batteries in phones constantly. It's been a while since 2013. These will have better batteries in them, more robust batteries that will last longer. So regardless of what console you end up buying and how you like to charge that fucking controller, I can assure you, for the most part, unless there's some kind of crazy problem that they're going to have to recall these for, this controller is going to have a great battery life. And it's interesting to hear that that they considered the way it felt, bulky, weight, stuff like that. But yeah, it's just good to hear about that because, as time goes on, tech gets better. You're going to want a bigger battery, specifically with the features that this thing has that we'll get into. It's important. For buttons, you'll notice there is no longer a share button as we had with the DualShock 4. Don't worry, it's not going away. In fact, we've built upon the success of our industry first share button to bring you a new create button feature. With create, we're once again pioneering new ways for players to create epic gameplay content to share with the world or just to enjoy for themselves. We'll have more details on this feature as we get closer to launch. This excites me because I think the share button is awesome, and I don't care about who did it first. I just think everyone should have it, and everyone will have it at this point because the Xbox is doing the same thing. It is something I've used many times on my PS4. It's awesome to be able to tweet out a clip just from hitting that button, or save an hour's worth of video for shows. Being able to quickly edit down and clip things while in the middle of playing a game. I mean, like, it's a great feature, and it's just something I want on everything. So that they're changing this from the share button to the create button tells me that there's going to be more features and more options to this to probably edit things, add things to it, maybe do things I can't even think about, or something that it's not coming to me. And that's really exciting. As someone who likes to create stuff, I love, as you guys know, filming, editing, creating anything. So this is really cool, and I love that they are thinking forward in different ways to change things up. DualSense also adds a built-in microphone array, which is crazy, which will enable players to easily chat with friends without a headset, ideal for jumping into quick conversation. But of course, if you're planning to chat for a longer period, it's good to have that headset handy. This is awesome. I love this. And before anybody who potentially might be like, it's just a controller, it's just PlayStation, blah, 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 Xbox, because this is what I'm running into a lot on the internet. I know I sound kind of like annoyed by this, but it just takes away from the conversation when people bitch about the shit. This is awesome because I'm still going to be using my headset. It's going to have better audio quality. It's going to have a better mic on it, most likely, even though a lot of those little fucking mics, as a dude who really cares about audio, none of them are good. They all sound better than a shitty mic, but they're not awesome. They have all this like audio compression that makes the fucking sound quality go down. I'm not a big fan of it, but I will use those. But imagine if you don't have that and you wanted to send someone a message real quick. I mean, you can do it with your fucking camera, but it sounds like shit. So to have a mic on your controller at all times gives you options, gives you ways to go about doing things if you want. Say if you hit the fucking create button and you made a video and you want to do a commentary, you can just do it right off your controller. Blah 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 blah. You're done. It's fucking it's awesome. It's a great feature, and this is something that I praised with the fucking the 3DS. 3DS has a fucking mic on it. You could use it in some of the online games. It just wasn't utilized very well. And back then when I found that, I was like, wait, this is a headset? I can talk to people with this? That's fucking amazing. You know, it just wasn't used then as well as it could have. But this is awesome. This is next level shit. This is innovation. It's not innovation in the sense of like a mic is brand new, but to give you the option to be able to talk into your controller if you need to. You want to send a message to someone, be like, hey, blah, 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 I'll be on at like 5 p.m. Or if you're playing a game, I'm wondering how they're going to, what kind of compression software will be in this, though, to make it so it doesn't pick up stuff from far away too well, because they're going to have to do that. But just to have that option is just awesome. I'm sure it'll have the mic port as well, so maybe you put in fucking earbuds and then you're just talking into it. It's just another way. If you don't have the money to buy a new headset, you got this. It's just fucking cool. I love it. Now let's talk about the colors. Traditionally, our base controllers have a single color. As you can see, we went a different direction this time around and decided on two-tone design. Additionally, we changed the position of the light bar. Thank you. That will give it an extra pop. On DualShock 4, it sat on the top of the controller. Now it sits at each side of the touchpad, giving it a slightly larger look and feel. Okay, so a couple things here. The color, we'll talk about this a little bit more once we look at the thing up close. I love the way this thing looks. I love the colors. People who are complaining about the colors, not the aesthetic, the colors. It's weird to me that people are upset about the colors, right? Because maybe when this comes out, you're like, I don't want that one. I don't like the way it looks. There will be other colors. We have over 10 years of controllers that have shown us there will be a plethora of other colors available. So if you don't like these colors, you'll get other colors, right? So I think it's a weird complaint. It's like if I looked at a black controller, I'm like, I don't like fucking black controllers. You're going to get red, blue, everything fucking throughout the rainbow. So that is easily fixed. I love it. I think the thing looks sci-fi as fuck. I love, in general, black and white together. They look really cool. So this thing just looks really futuristic and sleek. It's awesome. The light bar getting moved is smart, because originally they had that light bar because they're hoping you'd buy the camera early on and they wanted games to interact with the two things. Kind of gimmicky. Didn't take off. No one cared about it. It's like, what the fuck do we do with this light bar? No one really likes it. It wastes battery. What the fuck do we do? So some developers would have the color change from like green to red as you were dying in a game, but it's on the flashlight on the front of your controller. So every once in a while you could like kind of see it out of the corner of your eye and be like, oh, that's kind of a neat thing, but who cares? I still don't care about this light bar. So they originally were talking about like getting rid of it because no one cared about it, and then now they've moved it behind the fucking touchpad, which you can kind of see the light behind the touchpad anyway because it's so fucking bright inside the controller, that now they can still do all those things that it slowly evolved into, but now on purpose. And I think that's such a cool evolution, because the light bar's gone. No one gave a fuck about it. But the lights that they'll be able to use to do different things, to tell you things that are going on in the game, with that maybe the game doesn't have a HUD, but you want to check your health, you can look down, it still does that. So it's a smart evolution. And then the touchpad, I think, completely underutilized on the PS4, but when it is utilized, it's awesome. It is one of the strongest moves forward in controllers. And no one ever talks about this when they're like, wow, this controller copied that one, or that controller copied this one. None of that fucking matters. When it comes to the touchpad, no other controllers are doing what that touchpad does. You have a mouse. If anyone wants to utilize that in a game, it's an option. It's there. You have clickable portions on that touchpad, which adds buttons to the whole controller in a way that does not overcomplicate the controller. And then you have swipe features. Like in Warframe, you can swipe up, down, left, and right. You have 4 brand new buttons on that fucking controller now. And they worked great. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I loved it. I would love to see more games do that kind of shit. And so I'm a big fan of the touchpad. I think it's a really smart, genius thing. And it looks like Actually, I looked at a picture side by side. It looks like the bottom of it is about the same size as the original touchpad, but it gets wider at the top, which I like because if you're reaching up and you're swiping, you're going to have more room up there. It's not a huge amount, but it's still an improvement. So I love it. I think it's awesome. In all, we went through several concepts and hundreds of mock-ups over the last few years before we settled on this final design. DualSense has been tested by a wide range of gamers with a variety of hand sizes in order for us to achieve the comfort level we wanted with great ergonomics. Our goal with DualSense is to give gamers the feeling of being transported into the game world as soon as they open the box. We want gamers to feel like the controller is an extension of themselves when they're playing. So much so that they forgot that it's even in their hands. We are thrilled about sharing the final look of DualSense controller with our fans, and we can't wait for everyone to get their hands on it. I'd like to close with a message from SIE President and CEO Jim Ryan to the community, which says, DualSense marks a radical departure from our previous controller offerings and captures just how strongly we feel about making a generational leap with PS5. The new controller, along with the many innovative features in PS5, will be transformative for games, continuing our mission at PlayStation to push the boundaries of play now and in the future. To the PlayStation community, I truly want to thank you for sharing this exciting journey with us as we head towards PS5's launch in holiday 2020. We look forward to sharing more information about PS5, including the console design, in the coming months. So this is the motherfucker right here. So let's look at it up close. Now I've been getting, I know I talk about Twitter a lot, but that's kind of where the conversation happens on the internet nowadays. A lot of people are saying that it's the same. It's not that different, which I think is a crazy claim to make, and or it is copying Xbox, which I think are also, I think is a better claim to make, but I think a useless claim to make. Because we have, first off, to the claim of it being like the original DualShock controllers. I actually did a mock-up on Twitter side by side and circled in the same color on each controller what's different. I found from the front about 12 things that are completely different. So I think if the majority of things on something are completely different than the prior thing, the whole thing is different as a whole. It just makes complete sense to me. So yeah, I don't see that. I think this is the biggest. A lot of people don't think about this either. The PS4 controller, the DualShock 4 and the DualShock 3 are fucking way different. I have both controllers here. If you hold them and look at them, the size is different, the grips are different, almost everything's different about those fucking controllers. Everything. The thing that's the same is the visual aesthetic. The visual aesthetic is not a technical thing. It's just the way it looks. But if almost everything about it is different, it's different controller. So anyway, I had to kind of squash that a bit because it's weird to me that someone can just go, okay, well, it's got X button, triangle buttons, the same as the last one. Well, no, it's not. So inside here, completely different. The inside of the grip, the outside of the grip is less bubbled. It's more rounded off. The fucking speaker is completely different. The fucking home button is completely different. The bumpers and triggers are completely different. The light bar is not there anymore. It's behind here. It's completely different. The fucking buttons on the sides are completely different. The touchpad is redesigned completely different. The analogs are different. They're just in the same position, but they're different. The whole area that they're resting in is completely different. The only thing that's the same, when I had them side by side, is the D-pad is the same shape, but they're not even on a flattened area anymore. So that's completely different. And the buttons are the same shape. That's the only thing that's the same. So this thing is a huge departure from the last controller. And it feels the same as the PS4 controller. I wouldn't be complaining either. But this is a very strong evolution of the prior controller. My only thing I'm worried about is, are those analog sticks stiff or not? Because I hate loose analog sticks. I fucking hate them. I like to have a little resistance, so I have a little bit more control on the movement. So, like I said before, I love the color scheme, and I'll love the new color schemes that come out. So whatever colors that come out for this thing, it's always going to look good. I'm sure we'll get a full one-tone color scheme and multiple, two-tone color schemes. That would be really cool. I think these translucent buttons are really sleek and futuristic looking. I like them a lot. I'm sure in the future you'll get multicolored different ones as well. Ones, you know, that will have, these will be red and the rest of it will be black or orange and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure they'll have all sorts of color schemes out there. But it does kind of harken back to the PSP, PS Vita to me. So it is on brand, which is interesting. The home button's completely different. It's a PlayStation symbol, and I think it's probably the tackiest looking part of the whole fucking controller, but I don't think it's bad. It's just weird. I kind of like the circle better. But it is PlayStation, so they have that. The speaker is smaller than the prior controller, which is cool. You know, as speaker technology has gone up, I'm sure you can pack in the same or better speaker in a smaller area. Phones do an incredible job at producing audio for how small they are. It's crazy. The grips do remind me of an Xbox controller. I'm not going to lie about that. Just because if you look at the Xbox controller, they have a strong cutoff in the inside of the grip, and on the outside they're a little rounder like this. They're not exactly the same if you look at them, but they're pretty similar. But that just comes down to ergonomics. If that's the way that feels the best to hold, I don't know why anybody wouldn't do it. But then if you go, well, they copied them. Well, Xbox copied every console that existed before it with making a controller that has two grips and buttons. So it's a useless thing to talk about. And then, yeah, I love the create button. Create button is really cool. I want to find out more about it. I love the touchpad. This shit is fucking just bigger, better. It's less popped up than the prior touchpad. That's something I really appreciate about my Pro controller I have. I forgot what the name of it is. C40 or whatever the fuck. It has a leveled off, bigger, smoother touchpad, and I love it. So to see PlayStation implementing that on their controller is awesome. So yeah, everything about this, really fucking stoked on it. I love it. And you can see right here, that's either a light or the microphone, because it has the mute symbol. So I'm assuming if that's red, it'll mean you're muted, which is cool. Also, it seems like the bumpers are way higher, and they're also ergonomic to the shape of the controller. So we'll see how that feels. Hopefully they feel good. I do think the Xbox One controllers bumpers feel kind of off compared to the 360. I like the 360s better, but they're not bad. They're just way more elevated. And yeah, the light bar, I love that they didn't get rid of it completely, but evolved it to something that it naturally evolved into, which is very cool to see. And then from another angle, we have big feature that I'm excited to see, USB-C. I'm also glad to hear that the Xbox is using USB-C. I would expect everybody to be doing this. And yeah, it's good to see. Also, these analogs look different. They look like they're a little more grippier on the outside, which is nice to see. Hopefully they are stiff feeling, though. That's the big thing I'm kind of worried about. Every time a new controller comes out, I'm like, ugh, how are those analog sticks going to feel? Because the 360 versus the PS3 had way better analog sticks. Way fucking better. Miles ahead. I always preferred using the 360 over the fucking PS3 controller. In fact, before the DualShock 4, I wasn't a big fan of PlayStation's controllers. You know, they worked fine for like racing and fighting games and stuff like that, but when it came to like first-person shooters and like anything that used analog sticks more often, they weren't that great. So the DualShock 4, though, is one of the best controllers ever made. Same thing with the 360 controller. So take that as you will. Those are my opinions. But yeah, USB-C, like I said, the touchpad is way less elevated than the DualShock 4. I really like it. And it just looks so fucking sleek. And then we're looking at these triggers right here. They look way thicker, more robust, less triggery. I hope they still pull inward like a trigger and don't go down. I fucking hate that. That's what the... I'm sorry, I'm going to piss so many people off right now talking about my preferences, and I'm so sorry that I have opinions. But the GameCube was weird because the triggers weren't triggers, they were buttons. When you pulled them into the controller, and I always hated the way that felt. I like the feeling of pulling a trigger back and not inward. So I'm assuming they will pull like a trigger, but they look really fucking... they're big boys. But if they're talking about that whole tension feedback thing, there might be like motors in there and shit. So it would make sense, which I'm so excited to to check out. And then these bumpers, I mean, they seem like bumpers. They seem fine. So they do seem a little higher though than the other ones. But yeah, this fucker is different. It is a different fucking beast than what we're used to, and I'm really excited. I just love tech. Anybody releases anything new, like, you know, Nintendo released a new Switch. I'm gonna want to know what the fuck that thing looks like and how it feels and what's the new features and stuff. And this is just this. Everything about the new console cycle has got me excited, right? Because I love that tech. I love new games, all that kind of stuff. With a new generation, we're getting new innovations and new graphics, all sorts of shit, new games, new properties. It's just an exciting time. But this is the first time that we're getting something that now I'm just like, okay, we're in it. This is new shit. We're in new waters. And I love that Sony jumped into this and went, you know what, we're going all out. We're going to make a completely different, futuristic-ass looking fucking controller that looks like a goddamn gun from Mass Effect, a Stormtrooper. It is just such a cool fucking controller, man. I love it. If this was released by a different company as a Pro controller, I would buy it. I love the design of this thing. It takes a lot from what's known to work with controllers across the board, which is good for everybody. If you're holding this controller, you're going to appreciate that they took all the good ideas from all controllers out there and also took all the great ideas they created and made this thing, and it's just awesome. One thing that I don't see a whole lot of people talking about that I'll talk about because I want to get that conversation going a bit is the PS5 has a brand new audio engine that they're talking about a lot. And they're talking about how you're going to be able to hear individual drops of rain all around you if you have the right setup. Even on normal speakers on a TV, they said you're still going to get something that sounds more robust than you're used to, because that's that new engine that they've worked on. Take that, and also take that this thing's going to have more feedback than the controller that we're used to so far. It's going to have that haptic feedback that's going to be able to give you that feeling of gravel, mud, all that kind of shit. When you're pulling these triggers, you're going to feel something. I don't know what it is, but you're going to feel some kind of tension to it that's going to give you even more feedback. So that's already way more immersive than we're used to. But then we already know that Sony's 100% in on VR. They already said early on that PS5, they had to add the VR to the PS4. And it works fine. It's actually one of the best affordable options for VR, in my opinion. But going into PS5, they're going into it with VR in mind as well. So with this, with the feedback you're getting in that controller, the audio engine that's going to be fantastic for the audio aspect of it, and then VR, you're going to be able to get into some very immersive stuff that I don't even think the high-end VR is offering right now. I mean, there is some really cool stuff, obviously, you can do with VR, and the quality of VR on PC is way better. And the controllers, finger controllers, all that shit, way beyond what this is going to have, unless they create their own peripherals for that, which I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But this is just going to offer something that we're not getting in that area yet, and that's really exciting for me. That's exciting. That's brand new shit to be excited about. And it's just fucking awesome. Coupled with ray tracing. Ray tracing already does a lot for audio and video. Getting that spatial awareness, getting that audio from this point of the ray to that point of the ray, and the lighting. I mean, this is just going to be such a cool experience to play. And this is why PC gaming, you know, is the pinnacle of like graphics and power and all that shit. But this is why consoles are exciting as well. Is because each company makes their own console, and if they're creative about it, they can give you an experience that's similar to everybody else, but also wholly their own. And that is that's one of the reasons why I love to own all these consoles. A lot of people out there are like, I just want to play games. I just want to buy one console and play all the games on it. I get that. But if all the consoles were the same, you're not going to get these cool innovations. Because then they all have to agree upon, like, well, are we all going to do this? Sure, yeah, we'll do that. And then someone's going to get left behind in sales, blah, 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 which already happens. But because of competition, they have to fucking bring it. Whereas if everybody's on the same field, we'd get way less innovation like this. And that would just be so boring. So I like just all the different atmospheres, all the different things. If I go and play on this, I'm going to have this experience. If I go play on this, I'm going to have this experience. and it's just exciting. But I'm a fucking tech nerd. I love this shit. So, all in all, I am obviously, as you can tell, the way I'm talking about this, very excited about this. I just love it. I don't care who's putting it out. That somebody is putting out this brand new hardware for the brand new consoles coming out. This makes me question what the fuck the PS5 is going to look like. I assume it will be white or white and black. I don't think it'll be a black console. It would look kind of weird. But yeah, it's giving us a hint of what we're going to find out soon enough. They said within the next couple months. But yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about the DualSense? What do you think about the name? What do you think about the design? What do you think about the features? Are you excited about this? Are you not excited about this? Try not to make this about the console war, and try not to do the whole fucking Xbox, blah, blah, blah. If you have like a point to make, let's have this conversation. I'm completely open to it. But that's just like senseless fucking bitching about blah 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 blah. Just don't buy it. Just don't buy it. Don't buy the other console if you don't like it. Don't buy this console if you don't like it. Fucking just live your life and chill. But yeah, what about this controller are you excited for? What are you not excited for? If you don't like the color scheme, let me know. But tell me what color scheme you'd like to see. I've been seeing some mock-ups of an all-black controller, very cool looking. I've seen ones of an all-white one. I saw somebody make a whole array of different colored ones that were two-tone, black and like red, black and blue. They all look sick. I love them. So let me know everything you're thinking about when it comes to the DualSense in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of, is this TLG Reacts? I think it's TLG Reacts. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this episode. Make sure to check out all our other shit. I'm not doing the whole spiel. And again, I said this in the last video, but I'm considering doing another quarantine community stream this weekend, playing Jackbox again. I've already had like 4 or 5 people tell me they'd like to do it sooner than later, and they enjoyed themselves, specifically during these times of quarantine that kind of suck for everybody. It was fun to get everyone together and just have fun. So if I get enough people interested in that, I would be open to doing it this Saturday, and I'll pick a time and let everybody know before that happens, because I had fun as well. So yeah, until the next episode, which is unboxing, I think, and then we got another episode. We're doing so many fucking episodes today, it's crazy. Not today, this week. This week's a blur. Till the next episode, my name's Seth. Have a good week, guys. Take it easy.